well for Nigeria, especially the struggle for democracy. And I'm convinced virtually every senator here knows that. Seated as senators here, the issue of our political parties is secondary. We are senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I'm saying this because of the question I want to ask you. And therefore, any question coming from me should be taken that is coming from the senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, not as a minority party senator. We all have equal status here. Like I did tell the Senate President, one day he may be seated here and I'll be there. My question is that I heard you, sir. You said as a writer or as a journalist or an image maker, you speak out of inspiration and conviction. You don't just say anything. You must have the inspiration and you must have been convinced that what you are saying is the right thing. You've talked about the social media too. I've read on social media, sir, your statement concerning other political parties during the election. I read a statement where you labeled supporters of a particular presidential candidate as wild dogs. You know, buying blood on social media. Have you come across that statement? Are you aware of it? Did you say that? If you didn't say that, no, excuse me, sir. Please. Let me say that. I've not.
Yeah. The minority leader, two things. Number one, you say one day that you will come and sit here. And that I will come and sit there. But you have forgotten that I sat there before I came here. That's number one. Then number two, to try and avoid campaign issues. Campaigns are over. We are now in governance. That is why once you pass through that door, you are coming into the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And you started well by pointing out that you are not asking questions on behalf of political party or on behalf of minority or majority. You are asking questions as a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That means your questions must be nationalistic and not partisan. So, but because of the fact that you are a leader, the chair continues to protect you. So go on.
Thank you, Mr. President. Secondly, sir, we know that. Yes, I'm asking another question. I've asked him whether it is true or not. So he is the one to answer, sir. Yeah, second question. The second question, sir. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you.
Bamidele representative to Central. I have come under Order 12, Order 55 specifically, Order 12. And it's important that this is stated. No senator may interrupt another senator while speaking, unless, and that's my emphasis, unless 12A, to call attention to a point of order or privilege and suddenly arising. 2, to call attention to the want of a quorum. C, to call attention to the presence of stranger D, to move a closure motion or to move that the business of the day be called on. Mr. President, the reason I also had to raise this point of order is that Order 55 from subsection 1 to 12 are clear as to the code, the mode of debate on the floor. And while a senator must be listened to in silence and no other senator must interrupt him, our order also, our rules have made arrangements or provisions for situations in which even a standing senator, a sitting senator, may be interrupted. That is stated in our rules. The issue at stake was that the minority leader was raising questions that bordered on campaign. This had happened several months ago. And if we are here as senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria screening ministerial nominees, we are not supposed to bring in issues that had come and gone. Political parties contest under tension. Thank you, sir. Yeah.
The leader of the Senate, your point of order is upheld. The distinguished Senator Darlington Wokocha, you are to make your contribution. Please go ahead and make your contribution because you addressed your hand. You have another question? You have another question? Oh, if you have another question, please go ask very quickly because we have other nominees to take. Please ask quickly.
Mr. President, Mr. Nominee, sir, as somebody that will be the image maker if you are eventually appointed by Mr. President as information minister of this country, we know that out of patriotism, we are supposed to be conversant with our national anthem. Mr. President, if you allow me, I will ask the nominee to recite the second stanza of the national anthem. Thank you.
Yes, distinguished Senator Wokocha, not point of order, your contribution. Just ask the question, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Senate President. And dear colleagues, my name remains Darlington Wokocha. I represent the entire Nigeria, but Abia Central in particular. Mr. Nominee, I want to welcome you to the floor, but I want to make special reference to your resume. Page 5, item 5. Mr. President, may I read? The item 5 says that you introduced the first ever Bill of Freedom of Information in Nigeria into the Lagos House of Assembly and went as far as conducting the first ever public hearing on the bill in Nigeria in 2005. That's barely 18 years ago. But I want to make reference to a certain provision in the Constitution, which I want you to take to recognize perfectly well. You have been in the media and information and communication space for decades. You may very well be familiar with Section 22 of 1999 Constitution as amended of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, to the fact that the press, the radio, television, and other agencies of the media shall at all times be free to hold government of the day to account for Nigerian people. We all witnessed how state authorities gagged some media organizations in the last administration. How would the press freedom, considering that 18 years ago what you did, be guaranteed at the national space?
I actually thought you were about to give us examples of what happened in the first and Second Republic, that there were public hearings. And then you would have challenged him. But thank you for agreeing with him. Distinguished colleagues, there is the leader.
Minutes. My point of order, sir, is Order 52, sub 4. And the reason it's important that I make this clear is that if I have your permission to read, sir, I would like to read. Mr. President. Order 52, sub 4. A senator must confine his observations to the subject under discussion and may not introduce matter irrelevant thereto. Mr. President, it's important that we know, and I want to say this with due respect to the minority leader. He has been wonderful as a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and he has contributed very immensely to ensuring that proceedings on the floor have been meaningful. However, unfortunately, he appears to have brought politics into this thing by asking the nominee standing before us to recite any of the stanzas of the national anthem, which of course is a piece of cake. But because that had not been our tradition, and we have not done this to any of the other nominees, if I did not say this, I'm moving that question or request be expunged. Because if it is not, and we rule that he will not recite it, it will look as if we had something to hide. It is irrelevant to the extent of the provisions of Order 52, sub 4. And I so move, Mr. President.
Your point of order, in fact, even if you ask me as the Senate President to recite the second stanza, I'll do it often. It is expected that every adult in Nigeria has the stanzas in his heart. Every adult. We are here to do serious business of how to move this country forward, and then to ask the nominees what they'll bring on the table to assist us to get out of the current cauldron. It is not necessarily to sing songs. So your point of order is sustained. Senator Jibikuta.
My name is David Esu Jimkuta, representing the good people of Taraba South, the headquarters of Kororopa Kingdom. Mr. President, having gone through his resume, I want to beg my distinguished colleague for the nominee to take a leave of the Senate. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Yes, I will. Thank you, Mr. President, sitting as chair of the Committee of Whole. I'm Yemi Adarabodu, Senator from Ekiti South and from Ekiti State. In seconding the motion moved by my colleague, Senator Jim Kuta, that the nominee who has answered very seriously and positively and progressively the questions posed to him. Ordinarily, I'm from Ekiti State. Not only that I'm from Ekiti State, he's from the other constituency, which I even represent in this hallowed chambers, that is the media. And we can see him. He's a media legend, he's a media avatar. He has been on it for a very long time. And when we look at the resume, we will be convinced that he's going to do a human. And then we even say it, that the taste of the pudding is in the eating. In Lagos State, with our president, as he was then the governor of Lagos State, Mr. Dele Alake was the mouth, he was the trumpet, that made all the human, all the feats in Lagos State to be known by Nigerians. And if we give him a bigger trumpet to blow in Nigeria in that wise, it's going to make Nigeria very proud, and it's going to blow the feet to the world, to the global space. And finally, he's from the land of honor, Ekiti State. He's an ambassador of honor, and he's not going to renege on that. I will even put it to him that the National Orientation Agency must be revived, because gone were those days when we were hearing, if you are a teacher, teach well. If you are a worker, work well. If you are a driver, drive well. So the National Orientation Agency under you, I know that is going to grow more wings this time and fly our orientation to every nook and cranny of Nigeria. Mr. President, we are very grateful from Ekiti State, and we are happy with his nomination and his screening today. And we are very sure that this hallowed chamber is going to confirm him to become a minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you.
So, Mr. Nominee, Ekiti, I can say that Ekiti has been marginalized in the proceedings. So, but there are still a few questions that you were itching to answer before you take leave of the Senate. So the floor is yours.
Question which was asked from that side of the chambers on freedom of the press really touched me. And the man did a little bit of research, the distinguished senator, going back to 2005, when I was the first to bring a bill of Freedom of Information Act into the Lagos State House of Assembly, and did a public hearing, and it's all on record. And that exactly signposts my own deep convictions about press freedom in this country. Having been a practitioner, I am still a practitioner, because we have an aphorism in journalism that once a reporter, you are a reporter for life. And so I remain a reporter. And so the ideals, the tenets, the principles, the norms, and the mores of that profession, I am one of those who uphold it, who will uphold it assiduously with every sinew in my veins to make sure that press freedom is sustained in this country. However, to every privilege, there are responsibilities. I am not advocating an absolute press freedom without responsibilities. And I had a cause to say to some group of media men just a few days back that those of us who are gatekeepers, editors, managing directors, and all that, the gatekeepers have an onus on them. It behoves on them to regulate whatever comes out for the sanity of our society, because information is power. When information is irresponsibly purveyed, it can lead to cataclysmic events and destruction, chaos, social anomie in the society. So I am very, very vehement on responsibility aspect of the press, and I will uphold it to the very last atom of my breath. Thank you.
I love to say Dele Alake. We have watched you over the years. We don't have any doubts about your capacity to handle any portfolio that your boss and our dear president may decide to endow you with. So we are happy with the enlightenment that you have received from the Senate and the enlightenment that you have also given to us. You may now take leave of the Senate. Next nominee.
I'd like to ask, how much is the Nigerian citizen aware of the programs of the present administration? If your answer is no, what can you do to improve on the quality of governmental information that reaches the Nigerian grassroots? Thank you very much.
And Borno know about Abuja Property Development Company. So you are saying that you are asking whether it's satisfied with the repertoire in respect of governmental policies, because a lot of people may not even partake in government programs if they are not even aware of those government programs. Let me ask distinguished Senator Shehu Buba Umar.
Thank you, Mr. President. Buba Umar, representing good people of Bauchi South. Mr. Nominee, let me start by congratulating you. Listening to your presentations and going through your CV, you, as an English teacher and also a pioneer of various media outfits, such as Blueprints and FM stations. So if my question is, if being confirmed by these hallowed chambers, what are you going to do to, before then, I know you are aware of our famous Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, known as FRCN Kaduna. When we were growing in the late 70s and 80s, is the famous radio stations that 19 northern states rely upon, which I believe you believe in that. And now, I believe you are also aware that the nature of FRC in Kaduna is virtually in a state of comatose. All the machines and tools are obsolete. Going by your experience in the media outreach, if eventually confirmed by these hallowed chambers, and eventually Mr. President appoint you to Minister of Communication, what will you do to reorganize, rejuvenate, and bring back life to our famous FRC in Kaduna? Thank you, sir.
Iggy Baranada. Mr. Nominee, about 41 years ago, you attended your secondary school and obtained a GCE. But the document before us here is just a statement of result. There is no certified statement of result gotten from WAEC or the Examination Council. How can you prove that to the Senate, that this statement of result is free? Thank you.
Yes, distinguished